Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us here on a Thursday. I'm Marlon Boulding with you, your tour guide to the ag commodity trade. Well, when it's Thursday, that means we get our weekly export sales numbers, and we talk with Brian Hoops, the president of Midwest Market Solutions, and use him for some guidance on what the numbers all mean. And Brian, welcome aboard once again as we do our weekly excursion into our weekly export sales numbers. We always get a boatload of data from USDA as far as what we sold of our grain products and meat products too. So let's go to the weekly numbers and take a look at these here for this past week. On the weekly sales, we had sales of corn of, well, let me preface this by saying the trade was estimating 800,000 to 1.6 million tons. Okay, that's what they were looking for. It came in at 3.19 million tons of corn sold last week. And Brian, I know everybody was expecting a big number. I mean, we knew it would be a big number, but it was more than double what even the highest trade guess was, apparently, based on a survey by the Wall Street Journal. And still, I mean, it's still a surprise when you see a number that large in reality in print. And then we'll get to it in a second, but we had another overnight sale of corn again as well. Is that number actually going to help the market much today or not? Because corn has kind of fallen flat lately.
Yeah, you know, this is the, on a private sale basis, this is the seventh sale we've had out of the last 8 trading sessions. So some good numbers as far as sales announced every morning at 8 o'clock from when the USDA comes out. This export sales number, you know, it's pretty widely known that we were going to have sales about 88 million bushels or so this week because of last week's private announcements. So I don't think it's really any shock to the trade or any surprise to the trade. We're much higher overnight, 7.5 cents gains going into the report, and we held those gains. So it looks technically very strong. You know, we're at the highest levels of trading in that May contract since May the 3rd, almost a breakout back on the technical charts. From the standpoint that, you know, momentum traders, the funds are momentum traders, they push this market into new lows. And when we cannot continue to make new lows, they cover some short positions. We did get some commitment of traders data this week that suggested that they're holding shorts now, and they may start to cover those positions and give us a rally in this corn market. But China continues to be the best buyer of corn. Not only was this a marking year high for corn sales, it was the highest weekly sales in 2 years. So some really strong numbers here. China's bought about 6.5 million tons of corn from the United States this year. Now that's about half of what they had bought a year ago, but it is improving because of that drought that's ongoing in Argentina and the lack of their exports. So China is looking at alternative areas for their corn needs, and one of them is the United States.
Let's go back to those weekly export numbers if we could. And again, that was a really big corn sale number last week, 3.19 million. Soybeans, 351,500 tons, kind of a yawner there. The wheat, 138,600 tons. So that backed off quite a bit from what we had earlier. Let's take a look at what the overnight trade did. So this would have actually closed up right after the weekly numbers came out. May corn was pretty strong this morning, 7.5 higher at 641, and December was up 3 at 557.5. So it did get a little bit of a kick out of that. Soybeans, May was just a half cent higher at 14.49. It was on both sides of unchanged last night. November 3.25 higher at 12.75 3/4. Checking out that wheat market overnight in Chicago, you had the May 5.25 higher at 6.68 3/4. Kansas City, we had the May up 10 at 8.21 1/4 as a rebound from the sell-off yesterday. And spring wheat trade, May 6.25 higher at 8.40 per bushel. Just wanted to throw the cotton in there, no extra charge for you. July was 42 points higher at 79.31. And that overnight sale that Brian and I were talking about on the corn, well, he mentioned it was a sale of corn to China once again. 132,000 tons this time around, I believe, or was it 123? Brian, correct me on that one.
123. I had to look it up.
Okay,
123.
Sorry, 123,000 tons overnight. Okay, we'll come back and we'll talk about the beef and pork exports too, right after this. All right, we're back with Brian Hoops, the president of Midwest Market Solutions. Well, he's based in Springfield, Missouri. Now, we talked about the grain export sales a little bit ago. Brian, let's talk about these beef and pork numbers. and see if we had any surprises there. So on the weekly numbers from USDA, we had the beef coming in at 18,600 tons that were sold here this past week. And on the pork side, we had a grand total of 38,000 tons that were sold last week. Both of them, I believe, were just a notch higher than what we had the week before here, Brian. So overall, do you think they'll be supportive to the trade today?
Probably not really. This is pretty much considered routine levels of beef and pork sales. So I don't know that it's going to really give us any type of interest in buying in the markets in here. The hog market really seems to, we talked about corn traders and momentum and how we keep pushing to new lows. And the hog market's done that every day this week, pushed to new lows, and we find new selling and new selling and new selling. If we're unable to push to those lows for some reason, and we could see a really nice short covering rally on some profit taking going into Thursday's close, maybe, and even to Friday. And, some cash cattle trades starting to leak out here this week already at $1 softer in the Southern Plains, $1.63. We did get a little hedge lifting off of that news yesterday in the April contract to give us a rally back, well off of session lows. So we're going to need to see packers expand their kills. They're looking at a kill schedule very similar to the prior week, around 630,000 head. We need to be 660,000 head to get this cash market moving back where it was, a few weeks ago. And that would also move the futures back to price levels they were at just a few weeks ago.
Well, let's review where we finished up yesterday then and go to the live cattle board. Here's a look at our quotes provided by Bar Chart. And on live cattle, well, you had the April down 12 cents, but you had June down 25. It finished at 155.90 yesterday. On the feeders, well, the feeders had April down 32 cents. We closed at 194.37. And the May contract was down 77 at 198.77. Meanwhile, lean hogs, yesterday we had the April contract 97 lower. May was down 145, and ouch, June lean hogs were down $2 yesterday at 89.35 as they continued to just carve out new lows and test the lower end of the trading range. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for talking with us this morning. I appreciate the help on navigating the export sales. We'll talk to you soon. Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions.